Pardon?
Pardon?
I'm just going to keep talking until you start it.
I'm
I don't know what to do in silence.
I'm starting it right now.
That's my posture.
You're listening to Thunderheads, a podcast for Thunder fans by Thunder fans.
Welcome to Thunderhead's Midweek Podcast. Hey, whether you guys are tuning into YouTube Live, hopefully you are, or listening on a different platform, we thank you very much. I am Brandon Soul, joined by the doctor, Rob Larson.
What's up?
Stumbled into that one.
I was gonna say I was gonna say my name, and then you started, and I don't know what's happening.
You were just going to say your own name.
Robert
after?
Larson. Yeah.
And, of course, the dark and stormy Jason Lewis.
Yes, sir.
All right, today we're just going to dive into the Thunder's three-game win streak. But first, I want to talk about the All-Star game a little bit because they released today, just before this podcast, who the starters are going to be. And we've been talking about it the past couple of weeks about how does this work? We knew that they were drafting teams, but we didn't know if there were starters technically. We didn't know how the whole process was going to work. So I have a note here for you guys. Okay, so under the new All-Star game format that replaces the traditional matchup between the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, LeBron James and Stephen Curry, who are the leading vote getters in their respective conferences, will choose the team rosters from a pool of players voted as starters and reserves. This we know.
Right.
The All-Star teams will still feature 12 players from each conference, but the captains will select the team rosters without regard for conference affiliation.
Okay.
That we also know, though. Right?
Yeah.
I think we knew that. Obviously, you didn't.
He didn't. He was a little shocked.
I wasn't sure.
He was
I wasn't sure if
waffling.
they were still gonna yeah. Now that makes sense. It makes sense.
But this is the one that I think we really didn't know. Each captain's first four selections must come from the pool of the 8 remaining starters. So basically, you have to select the starters first.
Okay.
What I want to know, though, what happens if one of them's hurt by the time the draft? Like, you still have to pick the hurt guy?
Well,
or will they insert someone like in the past?
they still have those. So it was based off of voting.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have the numbers where you could, I guess, bring up the next
highest
guy in that conference. But what I don't like is that you have to choose from them 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think you could still let them start. Most likely, those guys were going to be selected first, anyways.
Probably.
But I think it would have been better if it was just pick whoever you want. These guys are starting, so I guess you have to do that so that way you can make sure they start.
And you
could get too many of those guys on one team.
Yeah, because you could keep up the whole too. Like, if you're an all-star starter, it's a little bit better of an honor than just being an all-star. I guess that's kind of a thing. But since LeBron James led the entire fan voting, he will be making the first pick. Curry will make second pick. But it is funny you said those starters, who by the way are Antetokounmpo, DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving. So Russ did not make the cut, but I could see a guy like LeBron taking
Russ first.
Yeah.
If you could.
Yeah, I think that would be fun to watch too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is kind of a bummer. But
So who does he go?
That's a good question. I think he's gonna go a big guy. If he picks Durant, I'm gonna be so mad.
He won't.
That'd
I don't
be
think he
super
will.
lame.
I don't think he will either.
But who do you think he'll pick?
What if he picks Kyrie?
No, that's obviously
No
not
chance.
happening either.
No chance.
Take Giannis.
I think
he'd take
he
Giannis.
might. I think he might go Davis though.
That's who I was gonna pick. Was Anthony
really?
Davis?
Yeah.
Can you that's gonna be so cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Like,
gonna be nice to
that'll be
see them
fun to
play
watch.
together for the.
So they released the All-Star uniforms. I don't
yeah.
know if you guys out there have
pretty
seen
cool.
them. Yeah, they look cool. So they're like all black or all white, and whichever color the jersey is, the logo is the opposite color, white or black. So are they going to print these jerseys after the teams are selected? When are they drafting these teams? You know what I mean? Because you can't have some black on one team, some white on the other.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, unless you make.
Obviously
They're
that's
probably gonna make
You
both
could
of them.
probably, yeah, I would assume that they probably do make both of them.
that's true.
And,
And they also could, if
sell
they
them
wanted
both.
to, you could have them sign them
Both.
afterwards and sell them that way, anyways.
Yeah. So Russ finished 4th amongst West guards in fan voting,
Boo.
and 3rd amongst guards with the media and player voting. So he will not be starting for like a lot, like he has a lot of his career when he has deserved to start a lot of it. But Curry got the second most votes, and no one's really talking about how. Pretty much the consensus is Curry and Harden should be the starting backcourt, and I understand that because, especially Harden, of course. I mean, he's had a great year, but Curry's only played 31 games. If someone else had done that, that's a huge deal. Usually it's like, well, you got to knock him. He's only played 31 games.
Yeah, typically that's like a big knock.
He's
against
only played
people if
2/3
you've
of
been
the
hurt at all.
Right, he's played 2/3 of the season. It was funny though, it's Curry, so it kind of slides under.
Embiid the same way. He's just played 31.
Well, And
as
with this, I mean, like, what isn't it? Like 50% of this is fans,
Right.
So,
but still, Curry got voted in by the media and players too.
True.
So who does Curry select first?
Ooh, so if well, he's going Durant. He'll go Durant.
I don't like it.
You know he will.
Probably so.
super lame.
It would be, yeah. I would assume he probably will, but I wouldn't mind seeing a little Curry and Embiid. I think that could be
interesting.
That could be really cool too.
That's why I wish Russ was a starter too. So Russ and Durant are on the board, and Curry takes Russ, and like some drama happens. You know, that'd be fun.
Just tears their team apart.
Yeah.
So they're still
For
not,
that.
they're not going to make this like a spectacle where you get to watch.
Well,
right?
have they said yet? Have they?
I don't know. I
officially
assumed
said?
if they were going
No,
to, we would already know when that is going to happen.
Yeah, I thought you had said that they weren't doing
Well, they
it
were
for sure.
talking about not doing it because they basically protecting the players'
players
egos,
didn't,
which
yeah.
is the lamest thing. Like, come on, what ego do you have to protect? You're a freaking all-star, man.
Yeah, no one cares about
Like,
that.
this is a cool achievement. Like, no one's gonna be tweeting, "Oh, you last pick
Yeah.
in the All-Star game."
Out of the starters of the
gonna
All-Stars
say.
of the NBA.
Yeah. Well, you're tweeting me from your couch
Yeah.
of your terrible
Have more
apartment.
potato chips.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
I will.
Right. All right, let's move on to the Thunder. They won 3 in a row, all versus bad teams. A problem area recently.
So that's good.
It is good. Ugly game versus Sacramento.
Wasn't pretty.
Pretty nice game, I guess you could say, against the Lakers. But, man, you watch them play the Lakers. The Lakers are just so outclassed,
They're
though.
very terrible.
They're so bad.
Very, very bad.
Anyways, Rob, do you get any sense that the Thunder might be kind of figuring out again, getting back on the right track? Or is this just a case, these are 3 bad teams and they should have won?
I think it's more so just the schedule. Although it is, I mean, it would have been nice to have seen, if they had beaten the Kings by a little bit more than 7. Like, I mean, that would have been nice. I get it that it was, I mean, you're at home too.
Mm-hmm.
And the Kings are not good. Actually, the worst
They're the worst
team in the league. So
at both things.
yeah, and so I think it would have been nice to see them beat the Kings by a little bit more. But I mean, obviously, they seem to have the Lakers' number.
Mm-hmm.
They destroyed the Lakers the first time by franchise, record. They scored the most points, or I think it was
133 or something.
36
crazy.
or something like that. Yeah, so close to the most. That it was like the 6th most that they have scored
Ever.
as a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, obviously they just destroy the Lakers, and so it is. I mean, it's nice because they were struggling to beat the teams that they should beat. So to that point, maybe you can say they have sort of figured it out a little bit. I also kind of think it's partly just ebb and flow of the season, where they were playing not as well, and then you start to play bad teams, you get a little bit of confidence, and you start to play better, and you beat the teams that you should.
It's kind of been a weird way. I mean, maybe we should talk about it right now, but Robertson comes back last night against the Lakers. You immediately feel his presence right off the bat, defensively and even a little bit offensively. You saw in transition, which it was terrible Lakers defense, but he fills the lane. He's not afraid to cut. You saw.
You don't see anybody else doing those things on this team.
You're right.
That's a huge thing.
He does those little plays that are necessary from your role players, and it's important.
He only did that in the first quarter, though, right? Wasn't
He
it?
only played 17
He
minutes.
didn't play a lot.
But in the first quarter was whenever he had those 2, or at least one of them, was that baseline cut that
Yep.
I remember.
Great pass by Russ.
And then, because he only had 2, he was 2 for 2 on the night.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think those
Yeah, they were
in the
both
first
right up front.
Right.
Almost the beginning of the game. So
Yeah.
It's just huge having him back, though.
But yeah.
Who'd have thought that Thunder fans everywhere would just rejoice upon the return of Andre Robertson?
I was.
No, I mean, not to this extent, though. No one.
It was crazy.
Especially, like, if you rewind 2 years ago, like, no one saw this as the
everyone's
future
like, what?
of Andre Robertson. But, it's been proven true. He's a super important player on this team. And I want to ask you guys, because it's kind of been knocking around my head a little bit lately. Does he have a case as the best overall defender in the NBA?
Absolutely.
He's up there for sure.
I mean, I don't
know if he is the best.
I definitely don't think he'll get credit for it, just because of, like, he hasn't worked his way around the league enough for people to, like, give him that.
Right.
Like, you still hear, and we've actually looked up numbers on this recently, within, like, the last couple of weeks, where his differential between whenever he's on the court and how good the team is defensively to when he's off is an insane number. Like, the difference between his on and off numbers for just pure defensive rating for the team is insane.
It's a case in itself, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and so I think, it's tough because Like I don't think he will just nationwide get that recognition.
Nah, he won't. But, I mean, and I think a lot of that is numbers. You know, people are so obsessed with numbers sometimes which you just presented some awesome numbers, but people talking about more individual numbers. You know
well, you also look at the highlights of him airballing free throws.
Yeah,
that doesn't help his case.
You know, he can't shoot 3-pointers,
which shouldn't matter, but yeah.
Right, he can't shoot 3-pointers. Right, you see that's what everybody looks at, and whenever we see him night in and night out, like it's very clear, like he's so important. His impact. Like he was 2 for 2 last night, and his fingerprints were all over that game with how well he was playing.
Yeah, the reason I bring that up is because I think that he really might be the best overall defender in the NBA. I see he's a veteran now on that end. Like he doesn't get any bad whistles against him. Officials tend to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's very physical. You know, he uses his hands a lot, and a lot of times you're like, well, if that's Abrines using his hands the same way, it's a foul.
Yeah, for sure.
But Robertson knows those little tricks now. He's there to help out when you need him.
Well, and I mean, he guards James Harden better than anyone.
Yeah.
Like, he locks that dude down pretty well. Like,
you know,
he's still going to score.
And I think when you think about that, too, and this is funny because this is way off topic, but it's a really good point. When you play Harden as much as Robertson has, that's advantage defender, I think, because you start to learn the offensive player's tendencies. You can't really learn a really good defensive player's tendencies. You know, so Robertson, that's an upper hand there for him on Harden, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Like, to me, when you're saying, like, he's the best defender in the league, like, you have a lot of fight between the whole Kawhi thing and Draymond.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, there's a lot of really good defenders.
Yeah.
LeBron, if you want, when he wants, but
yeah,
obviously he doesn't do it night in and night out like Andre Robertson does.
Right.
Well, back on track. Something that changed, we wondered what Ferguson's role would be upon the return of Andre Robertson. He was the first one off the bench. How many minutes did he play?
27.
27 minutes for Ferguson. A lot of that is garbage time.
Yeah.
Obviously. You like it, love it, or hate it?
Well,
first off the bench, Ferguson.
I don't.
I don't pass.
I don't really. Well, the problem
like
is I don't think that it's going to continue. And so I guess I'll say.
So do you think this was simply because there was a minute restriction?
Yeah,
there for
just
Robertson?
because of Dre. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it'll, like, I would expect Robertson to see a bunch of minutes like he does whenever the restriction is removed, and I think that takes away. I mean, Ferguson then is not going to be coming in first off the bench, but you know, hopefully they can find, like, as they work through this, because it was hard on the Thunder because you had what I think was shown, your defensive anchor, the most important player on defense, was out. So the Thunder figured out how to play with these two new guys, great guys, and then
great guys,
just fantastic guys,
bestest guys.
And then you kind of start to figure that out a little bit. Robertson goes down, and then so you have to kind of figure out how to play without Robertson. And now he comes back. You have to figure out. Now that Ferguson has maybe emerged a little bit, you have to kind of figure that out now.
You mean figure out how you want to use him?
Yeah, how he can still make an impact on a smaller scale.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to go I like it just because I like him over Abrines. But, I mean, he's not been playing particularly great. He had his hustle plays, though.
Man, he makes these plays
Dude,
that you really appreciate.
They're just incredible. Like that dive out into the audience last night for the loose ball. That was awesome.
He kicked a guy.
Yeah, almost in the face.
Gotta like that. Gotta like that.
Gotta like it when it kicks people.
And I thought to myself last night, I was like, I don't know that I necessarily like Ferguson for this season, necessarily his impact, what he can possibly. But going forward, I love that he's on this team.
Yeah.
Like you brought up, Jason, he's 19 years old. His hustle, offensive rebounds when he just leaps over everyone and slaps it out. That's huge,
there was one
man.
during the block during the Kings game. Oh my God! What did he block? Kusta or some 7-footer.
Yeah,
he just like went up and denied him completely, and it was.
I don't know
like
who Kusta is, but
Costa.
You mix his last name and first name.
Yeah, I do that.
Ferguson is still, like you said, that you prefer him over Abrines. Like, I think you still need, unless you're gonna go and get somebody, like you still either you need Ferguson or you need Abrines to hit shots, like for that bench unit to have success. And I know we're going to talk a little bit about an all bench unit and what Billy's doing with that. But if that's going to continue, like one of those two guys is going to have to come in and make shots.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's scary to go away from Abrines, because you know he's a superior shooter to Ferguson, right?
Yeah.
Ferguson has a quicker trigger, which is weird.
Yeah.
But Abrines is definitely the better shooter. He had 7 points on 8 minutes in the Lakers game. Only hit a 3, but you can, I don't know, you have more confidence when Abrines shoots the ball than you do with Ferguson. But those little plays that Ferguson makes, they're impressive. How good can Ferguson be, realistically, in the future? What's his peak?
I don't know. That's
hard to say, I know, but
it's tough
question.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit we talked about this before, what we kind of hoped for him, and I don't know. I don't know. I think hopefully he can turn into
He's just so tiny.
Well, he is, and you would expect that to kind of turn around a little bit, like
smidge.
Hopefully, and he's still obviously so young, but
he'll always be skinny, but
he will always be skinny. That's a great point. I don't know what I expect him to be. That's tough.
Just trying to think of skinny, like Corey Brewer or something.
Yeah, that would be a little bit of a...
Hopefully he's a better offensive player, and because Corey Brewer is one of those players like early 2000s. He's a good player, but nowadays in today's NBA, he's like
he's on the Lakers, on the third string of the Lakers.
Yeah, it's hard to compare him to a player. I was trying to think of this too, but I mean, I think you really got to consider him maybe a athletic 3-and-D guy. That's what you would think of him going forward, right?
Yeah, I mean that's
for
what
sure. I mean that's his skill set if he can shoot better.
He has to, and I think just with time in the league, he's going to figure out how not to foul as well.
Yeah.
That'll go away a little bit, and, he'll develop, I'm sure, but I don't know, it's tough to, I think of the guys that are on this, of the young guys that we've seen, like, he's kind of the toughest, I think, to try and figure out who is currently, like, that he could turn into.
He's the best prospect on this team, right? I mean, not talking about the stars or anything, but
yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
But before this, like I was so big on Abrines before this season that it's
turned
tough.
around real quick.
It's tough to say that it's not. But I mean, you look at Ferguson's numbers on the year, like he's not shooting the ball well at all. No. Especially from like three, he's shooting 26.4% from three. Like it's not obvious.
But that one game though.
But I always thought, But before the season, I kind of thought that his shooting would be what carries him. But to see like his just so active and like energy on defense, that's the thing that we're really like pointing to is pretty cool.
You're starting to see him develop this confidence too, where he's not backing down from people, which he's always kind of had, but now he's especially like, I'm even seeing him talking a little trash to veterans a little bit.
Well, and last night he had that one drive and kick over to Grant that was really nice.
Was nice.
Didn't know he could do that, and that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
So
it was awesome to like a
him
little wrinkle.
And it's kind of that confidence thing. Like he drove, like he was going.
He dribbled and passed.
And people were kind of like, oh, shit.
No one else on this team.
Yeah, that's a big thing we need.
Crazy that we have a bar that seems so low.
Oh, shit, did that guy just dribble and then also pass the ball?
And the guy he passed it to scored?
Made it, yeah.
And it wasn't Russ that did it?
Yeah, was it Russ or Paul George or I guess maybe Carmelo? You can expect a little bit of them. Yeah. All right, so what worries remain? Because 3-game win streak, like I said, bad teams. Like you said, Rob, tough one against the Kings. Not a pretty one, but a win's a win in the NBA, I guess.
Have any of these necessarily been pretty? The Lakers game was like a good win, but it didn't feel phenomenal.
Right. The Thunder win by 24. They hold the Lakers to 16 points in the second half, but defense in the first half was not great once Robertson left the floor. In the first half, Westbrook, at one point, I think Westbrook was 1 for 10 from the field. Paul George had 2 points at halftime. So in a game where Paul George and Russell Westbrook did not play well, at least in the first half, Carmelo Anthony was on fire, and the Thunder were winning at halftime.
Yeah.
So it shows you how bad the Lakers actually are.
So bad.
But one name that we haven't mentioned is Steven Adams. Completely dominated the game. 21 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of those offensive rebounds. The Thunder had 21 offensive rebounds.
That's insane.
For the game to 6 offensive rebounds for the Lakers. Okay, check this out. The Lakers had 24 defensive rebounds, and the Thunder had 21 offensive rebounds.
They out rebounded by 24.
The Thunder's offensive rebound percentage, they grabbed 47% of available offensive rebounds. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to win if you're a team and you give that up.
Yeah.
They did some interviews today, and you heard I think it was Paul George that was saying like it makes it like you feel a little bit more free with the shots that you're going to take because you know that guy's down there grabbing so many offensive rebounds, giving you
like almost half the time you get it back. So it's like you can take your bad shot.
Well, I was thinking last night, everyone kind of thinks that Russ has made Adams look so good, and Russ makes his teammates look so good. I wonder if that works the other way. Does Adams make Russ look good? Because Adams gives Russ the ability to kind of recklessly drive to the basket sometimes and miss some of these layups, and Adams cleans that up a lot of times,
Yeah, I mean,
and if the other team gets a rebound and Russ is lying on the floor and pushes up in transition and scores easy, then Russ's play looks a lot worse.
Yeah, and I mean, nights like last night where Russ is horribly inefficient, like he was, what you say, like 1 for 11 or something.
At one point, I think it was 1 for 10. He finished 8 for 22.
Yeah, it was rough in the first half for sure. He wasn't getting anything to fall. So, and Adams was there almost every time, just cleaning it up, putting it in, and that's like, it helps it not be so egregious. Like if somebody wasn't grabbing those rebounds and Russ has just missed 10 straight shots, and you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like,
it's huge because you have a couple chuckers in Russ, in Melo.
Yeah.
And you have a guy that cleans it up and knows his role and can establish position. But it is weird when you look at the Lakers. What is Luke Walton doing starting Julius Randle at center when you're playing Steven Adams?
That's what he's been doing. That's the lineup that they've been rolling out
there. It doesn't seem like a very good strategy.
Maybe change it that time.
Yeah. No, don't do that. You just don't do that.
Well, Brook Lopez is not going to be effective. Like, Adams is going to eat Brook Lopez up every time.
And Brook Lopez will get a 3 or 2 on him. But
right, yeah. But that's the point, is that he's more of a finesse guy. Like, he's going to be staying to the outside, which is a little bit – I was a little worried about that with Adams having to be away from the goal so much, especially, obviously, on defense. But, it was just – didn't matter. Like, Adams is – like, so good. It just didn't matter.
I think that is where Russ's rebounding ability comes into play, though. When Adams does have to go out there and guard these stretch centers.
And Dre, too.
Yeah, and Dre, you're right. So these guys, it helps so much that those guys are capable rebounders, and more than capable rebounder in the case of Russ.
Yeah, Russ is incredible rebounder.
Oh, yeah. You were going to say something. I cut you off.
I suddenly don't remember. Oh, it's kind of nice that Adams seems to be out of that little bitty slump he had. Like, he seems to be playing better now.
It helps when he's so much bigger than everyone else on the court. The ball just falls into his...
One thing that I did notice from last night's game, we were talking about rebounding a little bit. Like, the distribution of rebounds last night, like, Adams was the only guy that had double-digit rebounds. But you had Adams with 10, Paul George with 5, Russ with 6, Dre with 4.
Houston with 8.
Yeah, Houston with 8, Grant with 5. And obviously, those guys... I don't know that you can count on that.
Everyone that played got a rebound. Everyone that played.
That's crazy, and that's
just poor old Nick down there without anything.
That's what we. That's so a big deal has been Russ getting triple doubles and how cool that is. But it
it is cool.
It's kind of awesome that you see it distributed like that. It feels more like also getting guys involved if they're being able to get the rebounds, starting the break, however you want to view it. But it's a lot better that way, I think, than whenever you see Russ with 15 or whatever.
Right. I agree.
Yeah,
a lot of times when you see Russ with 15 or whatever, it's because he's truly chasing them, though, and he's not playing defense.
Yeah, that's true.
Sorry, I cut you off again.
It's like I was just saying, like, it's kind of like we were saying, getting guys involved. It goes back to, I remember when Serge was all unhappy because he wasn't getting to touch the ball. Like, if they're at least rebounding the ball, like you at least get to touch it and
get a little feel for the game.
Somewhat involved in things.
That's a good point.
It is nice.
The Thunder are the best offensive rebounding team in the NBA, large part due to Steven Adams. Is that something that this team, underperforming for the year, 25-20, 5 games over 500, which, by the way, is the highest they've been over 500, tied for it. They were 20-15, so they got back to that. Is this something, that offensive rebound, something the Thunder can lean on in the playoffs as a team that maybe underperformed for the entire regular season, but maybe they don't even have home court advantage in that first round? It's a 5-4 matchup. Is that something that maybe goes overlooked in the season? Is that something they can realistically lean on, or is that a scary thing
that's extremely scary?
I'd rather them just make the first shot.
The reason I asked is because you get away with a little bit more in the playoffs. You're going to be able to be a little bit more physical down there, and the Thunder have the tools to out-physical most teams, mainly being Steven Adams and with what Westbrook can do. So I was wondering if this can give the Thunder more opportunities to score.
I think that it will be nice to have, but if
it's not,
you obviously don't want them to lean on that. Like, hopefully that's not
It could be an X factor, I think.
That's a good way to put it.
Like,
yeah.
I don't think it's a thing you go in and being like, well, we got him because we're going to out rebound him on the offensive end. Like, we're going to get that. But it could change the game for us. It could be the thing that kind of pushes us over the edge in some instances.
I guess I was thinking in a potential Warriors-Thunder matchup when, the Warriors, their weakness for years now has been rebounding. And that's where the Thunder have been able to get them a little bit is rebounding the ball. And the Thunder might be a better offensive rebounding team than they've been. And now they don't have to rely on Cantor to get those offensive rebounds.
That's true.
Now it's mostly Adams. And I don't know if you can really rely on Melo to get some of those offensive rebounds, but because he's going to be out there shooting a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But like you said, Jason, Robertson is such a good rebounder too.
Yeah.
He's got such a nose for the ball.
And he does a good job offensively getting rebounds too. So that's because he's usually trying to cut to the basket if he's not doing anything.
Right. He just usually tries to make the right play.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Paul George a little bit. He's been struggling. I have a couple
bit.
stats here. 6 straight games shooting below 50%. He only has 6 steals in the last 5 games, and I bring that up because I have noticed a little bit of laziness on his part defensively.
I have too. I remember when I was rewatching the game last night, he just kind of watched somebody take a 3, and that was like the first time I felt I'd seen him do that this year. Like, he missed a switch and just then just watched, and I was like, that was not his personality to do that.
I think he's been a little bit lazy on both ends here.
Well, I
here
think
recently.
he looks a lot worse without Robertson out there. Like, requiring more of him on defense, he's going to look worse.
That's true.
But I also think, I don't know if part of it was the Lakers game where they did miss the switch and he kind of watched, he just watched the 3. I don't know if that, part of me also wonders like how he just doesn't look engaged at times, which to me, that's the weirdest part. Like, he seems like somebody who I thought would be like, I know his personality isn't that, but like a little bit more aggressive, trying to get his a little bit more. And I feel like he relies a lot, especially when he's out there with Russ, for Russ to get him going rather than being able to do it himself and just be a little bit more engaged, because at times he just looks kind of out of it or doesn't seem to be like focused on what he needs to do.
Like last night, I felt like he just looked bored or something. Like, he just didn't seem all that into playing basketball. I don't know what it was.
He didn't start being aggressive until it was just him out there with the bench, and then he started pulling up for 3s and kind of just let him fly.
Yeah.
And it's so weird considering what he did, how good he looked in LA.
Right.
And then whenever he's playing the Lakers here, like, I kind of thought we'd have seen a little bit more of that, and it wasn't that. It was completely different.
Does he seem uncomfortable? And credit, I bring this up because we had a Twitter question about it. Credit to Always and Forever Art on Twitter. He asked us Twitter questions, so we'll just talk about it right now. Does he seem uncomfortable on the court right now?
Yeah,
He
little
did
bit.
Especially offensively.
Like he did a couple weeks ago. He looked amazing.
Right.
So it seems like him and Melo have been like doing this
Did they swap?
interweaving flow of like comfortableness.
Melo's led the
words.
team in scoring the past 2 games. Meanwhile,
Yeah,
he's taken more shots than Paul George these past
Then
few
Melo
games.
had that quote. Did you guys hear that Melo quote today? I should have written it down. He said something about what was it? Finding his role and how
It's become fun again.
Yeah, how
that
it's
kind of thing.
Yeah, how it's become fun again.
Yeah.
And obviously, it's
There
going to
you
be a lot of fun whenever you're, like you said, leading the team in scoring. You're playing better. But
He had a couple laughs after he made some shots
I think
last night.
that's important, and that's something that whenever they are losing, that they lose is, that fun. And
that's kind of not to cut you off, but
he did.
yeah, but you did. But that's something, Brandon, you brought up before, is
Yeah, I
how they
probably
got how they get really high when they win, and then they get really low when they lose.
Right.
And it seems like Melo is a pretty big part of that. Whenever he's making shots and stuff, he's real happy, and then
I think that's Russ too.
very much Russ.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of this is like them. I wonder how they thought it would be coming into the season, and if they thought it would be easier than it has been, and if that's maybe a little frustrating to them, because it is a struggle. Like it's definitely not been. It hasn't come along as easy as I think that they probably thought it would.
Yeah.
That's a really good
I
point
think
because
Melo's even said that.
going into the season, everyone talked about how perfect of a pair Paul George and Russell Westbrook. Paul George is the perfect superstar alongside Russell Westbrook. It hasn't seemed that way. Melo's starting to find these spots on the court that are his spots. He has his spots. That particularly that wing 3 that he he
Kind of
finds
just walks into and
pregame warming up. That's the only place he was shooting, and he knocked down 4 threes from that exact same spot during the game. It's like he knew that's where he was going to get the ball. Paul George has yet to find a spot on the court that you're just like, that's his spot. He's kind of just roaming.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they really they've struggled to find him consistent spots to get him the ball where he can be effective.
he can't make twos for some reason, which is weird.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything to this. I don't know if that's on Billy. I'm not sure, but he does seem a little uncomfortable out there. And maybe you're right, Rob. Maybe it was just he comes into it with expectations. Oh, this is going to be easy. I'm just going to be able to go out there and play free. Well, that's not going to fly.
Yeah, it should be like I've said this from recently looking at this team, like whatever makes sense on paper for this team does not translate onto the
It's
court.
always the exact
Whatever
opposite.
it seems like this should work. Like you look at the personnel, you look at how these guys play, like some of this stuff, like PG with the bench, like this stuff should work. He should be better in those situations. Like it just hasn't been true this year. Like Billy's gonna have to go unconventional. He's gonna have to do something else because, like, whatever you think is going to work, it's just not. It's not making. It's not translating.
It's interesting. It's so hard to, because the last 10 games. Check this out. Russ's usage percentage is 37.2. That's a really high number. That would break the record if he didn't set it last year.
Like,
It
if
would
he
have
hadn't already done
broken
it.
the record. Yeah. So
Yeah.
for reference, it was 40.8 last year. For another reference, in 2015-16 with Kevin Durant on the same team, it was 31.3. So last 10 games, he's 37.2 usage percentage. So it's 6% higher than it was with Kevin Durant on the same team. That's kind of interesting, right?
That's
PG's
not what we expected. I think.
PG's usage is down to 24.4 in the last 10. Melo's 22.8. That's a pretty big discrepancy. Is that worrisome for you guys, or is that just what this team's going to have to do?
I mean, we were when Russ was trying.
By the way, the team's 5-5 during that stretch.
Yeah. So I mean, when Russ was not being his usual self or his last year's Beastbrook thing, it wasn't working out when he was trying to defer more. It wasn't working out. So this seems to be working a little better, but I don't know what his usage rate was
5-5.
during that 6-0, that six win streak.
That's a good.
That would
point.
be interesting to look at.
We should bring that up.
But it does seem like it would be nice for PG to be featured a little bit more in the offense and to be like for them to run specific plays more.
Can't,
but
though.
it doesn't
I mean,
seem like it works.
Yeah, when
That's what's the weird thing.
It would be so nice, and also I think Russ has a hand in that. We've talked a lot about like off the ball. Russ seems to just not know what to do,
Right.
and so that's a problem
Makes it
because
rough.
then that's the whole thing with Robertson out there, right? Like if you're just going to stand out there,
Then
and
what's the
Russ
point?
isn't he's a better catch and shoot 3-point shooter, but still not what you want.
Not
Like
if he's
that's-
trying. Well, and if he's just standing there, he's not getting open.
Yeah, he's
to
got to
catch
cut
and shoot.
and
But
He's
if,
got to do something.
do something else.
if this whole season is about getting these guys comfortable and effective come playoff time, playing your best basketball, maybe it's worth the sacrifice of getting Paul George to figure something out where he can be effective more
You trying to lose more
consistently.
games, bro?
yeah, but they've tried.
I know, but you know what I'm saying, though, right?
But they've been trying. Like it's not like you haven't. It's not like you want to avoid that. Like ideally, Paul George, even Carmelo would be able to run something else or get somebody else involved.
Okay,
And-
here you go. During that 6-game win streak, usage percentage, Russ's was 34.7. Paul George 23.9, so lower than
So
it's
lower.
been in the last 10 games, and Melo's right around the same 22.3.
Huh.
Interesting.
So
Wouldn't have guessed.
everyone else was getting more involved
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. That'd be nice to see if they could make anything.
Is it? They can't dribble
yeah,
pass
they
or
suck.
shoot. But that is
They
interesting.
can't dribble, pass, or shoot.
So you would rather see it a little bit more, like them to try that a little bit more, maybe lose a little bit more,
I
but
don't know.
sort of gain in the long run.
I'd like to see him mix it up a little bit. I'd like to see a little bit more, 2, 3, 4 more PG Adams pick and rolls a game. But I understand where you're coming. I don't have any confidence in it. I'd like to see Paul George's numbers as the pick and roll ball handler on the year. I'm going to look it up. It'd be too much to try to do this podcast and look it up at the same time. But I will look that up at the podcast and I'll tweet it out because I am very interested in that. Because I wouldn't have confidence in it, but it's something that the Thunder have to have options come playoff time. They have to, or else they're going to be screwed.
Yeah, you can't be one-dimensional, especially whenever
Can't be predictable.
You're going to be playing those better teams,
Yeah.
and that you're not going to get very far at all like that.
And maybe if he gets comfortable in the pick and roll, he can play with the bench a little bit more because Billy's been rolling out these all bench lineups, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on it. Do you like these lineups? These all bench lineups, no stars. Like it, love it, hate it?
I'm gonna go with like it, because at times it's really ugly, but other times, like the Charlotte game, for instance, it saved our ass.
Yeah, they won the game.
Yeah, because without them, we would have most definitely.
But that's
lost that
really
game.
one guy.
Raymond Felton.
It's mostly whenever they do that, it's one guy. Like
Yeah.
Raymond Felton either has to score or he has to set somebody up immediately
Perfectly.
to score
Yeah.
because they're not going to be able to do it themselves. Where I kind of would like still, I think, Russ to be doing that. It's hard because, I don't know, Raymond Felton and Russ on the court hasn't always, hasn't
It's gotten
translated
better.
very well. But I don't know. I still think I think the Thunder would be better off with Carmelo and Paul George together more, and probably if you're gonna rest Russ at that time, using Raymond Felton with them. But I would like to sort of, to Brandon's point, if you can force that a little bit, like force those two guys to figure it out a little bit more with the bench guys,
Yeah.
because with Russ out there, like, you're going to be fine.
Right. That's
Like,
a good
he's
point.
going to be able to handle
if
the
you
ball.
If you use both Melo and PG,
Both of them,
Both.
yes.
and then just use Russ with those bench, like the rest of the bench,
Yeah.
because he can carry them. We saw that.
He can. And I think whenever it would be easier for those guys to get going with that bench unit rather than, because it's always going to be easier with Russ. Like, it just is. He's the best players on
Yeah.
the team. So it's always just going to be easier with him. But I think if you want to sort of work something out in the long run, I think Paul George and Carmelo running with the bench unit, or I think you have to go, if you're going to use Paul George, it seems you have to use Adams.
Yes.
Like, that
Right.
combination has
And I really
seemed to be
liked that.
key.
They kind of went away from it lately, like the PG and
Both
Adams
with
on the
the bench.
bench. Both. Yeah.
All right, so I went ahead and did pull up these numbers
Oh.
while you guys were
You got 'em.
ranting and raving. Okay, so Russell Westbrook as the ball handler in the pick and roll, 0.78 points per possession, which isn't very good, and he runs it 32.5% of the time. 32.5% of his possessions are him as the pick and roll ball handler. Carmelo Anthony, 0.89 points per possession, pretty good as the ball handler. Only 11% of the time. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe a little more Carmelo Anthony as the ball handler in the pick and roll situation, or at least set him some screens with the ball in his hands. Paul George, 0.8 points per possession, does it 24% of the time. So not a good number there.
What
really.
was Carmelo's percentage?
11% of the time.
11. Okay.
Yeah.
I figured it would probably be low. Probably
Yeah.
a small sample size there, because just thinking about it, like, that's not, I don't think, what you want. I just don't understand what's wrong with Paul George. Like, it just doesn't, to me, it just, that's the weirdest part of the whole thing. I didn't think he would be better than Kevin Durant, but I thought you would see enough flashes there where it would make sense. Like, it was the perfect fit. If you don't have Kevin Durant, like, you have Paul George, who was kind of KD light. And it's not been that at all. Like,
Yeah.
it hasn't even been close.
No.
And the thing that scares me about these all bench lineups is come playoff time, there's no chance you're rolling that out. There's no
Yeah.
chance. So
Yeah. So
you-
what are you doing?
Yeah. So why? Why? And maybe it's just to get some of these guys going and build these guys up as the season goes along, which I can understand that. And maybe you're playing Paul George and Melo and Russ as many minutes as possible together. Kind of like that was kind of Billy Donovan's reasoning for not staggering Durant and Westbrook back in the day, to get them more playing time together on the court.
Well, and when they were playing together, it was like the most incredible lineup
Right.
you could have. So
Yeah, they were better together. But
I'm with you. I think that we're all kind of surprised at how Paul George isn't as good of a scorer as maybe we thought he was.
well, I think maybe I was wrong, but like, I thought he would be more consistent than he is. Like, we've seen.
yeah, because he's
just-
been really good at times. I mean, he's shot really well from three. I mean,
Yeah.
but he hasn't. The thing that boggles my mind is his driving to the lane and his mid-range shot is just not there.
Yeah.
Like it's just so easy for everyone to stop.
Maybe he'll
and
get
I did
hot.
not expect that.
Maybe he'll get hot.
I would like him to get hot.
If any of the guys, especially shooting, like, he would be the one that you would pick. That would be like, he's just going to turn it around. Like, he's too good to not get hot.
What do we think? Leslie's
we
unhappy,
hope.
man. And the other thing about those all bench lineups is if Felton's not playing well, that lineup's going to be a disaster
Yeah.
because
Yes.
he's the only one that can
Yes.
score and get a shot for himself.
That is accurate, and it's scary.
Yeah.
It's very scary.
But I wonder though, also, like during the playoffs, the lineup is going to shorten, and so I don't know how important it is that you're going to see Felton out there
you
with
probably won't see
those
Eustace
guys.
play.
Yeah.
Or someone. Someone's gonna get cut.
Abrinas, and Ferguson. I don't think you're
Yeah.
gonna. I don't know. It's gonna be really interesting to see what he goes to.
Guaranteed, calling it right now, that Billy rolls out Ferguson in games 1 and 2 of the playoffs,
And then you never
it's
see
a
him again?
disaster. And then we're all like, "Why did you do that in the first place?" We knew it was not going to be.
Brandon
good.
said it months ago to not.
It would be so cool though,
Well-
if he did, and Ferguson just rose to that moment.
It would.
just
It would be
yeah.
very
Under the
cool.
legs dunk.
Another six,
Yeah.
another 6 for 9 from
like it.
3 game in the playoffs
Yes.
from a 19-year-old. Well, let's talk a little bit about the landscape of the West before we move on. So the Spurs announced that Kawhi is going to be out indefinitely. He's not right. He's only played 9 games this season.
It's a real bummer for him.
Spurs they've only lost, I think, 2 games at home all year, but they're not good on the road. They're like 10 and 14 on the road or something like that.
Yeah, they're
Those G
19
League
and
players
2.
that they're rolling out.
So how many
Yeah,
games behind the Spurs are the Thunder right now?
They are 4.5.
Oh, wow. More than I thought. And what, like 3.5 behind the Timberwolves, something like that?
They are 3.5 behind the Timberwolves.
So that 5 spot is looking like the Thunder, that they might end up there. And, 4 or 5 is kind of where it's feeling like. And it kind of feels like Timberwolves playing so well, man. They might be able to pass the Spurs. These Spurs role guys might run out of steam as the season goes on. So I want to ask you guys, would you rather play, because these seems like the most likely matchup as of now, the Spurs or the Wolves in the first round?
I mean, if you're gonna say that Kawhi's not gonna play,
Yeah,
I'm definitely
Spurs.
taking the Spurs.
Well, I think Kawhi is going to play
Then
because
I want the-
Popovich pretty much ruled out that he's out for. He's
well,
not
then
gonna
I
be
want
out
the
for season.
Timberwolves.
Yeah.
Easily, I want the Timberwolves. And I know the Thunder have lost the season series
Yeah.
to the Timberwolves, but you had the
3-1, right?
Yeah, you had the 3/4 shot at the buzzer, which would have made it 2-2. I mean, there's those games were close enough, and that would be either one of those series. I think would be very tough, and you're probably looking at a minimum of 6 games.
Yeah.
And you're playing on the road, likely.
Yeah,
Likely don't have home court
Yeah.
advantage. So you go Timberwolves too, Jason?
Yeah, I think so. I do wish that we had that toughness. That's one thing I worry about playing them is do we still have that toughness?
Yeah,
with
they
this
might be
team?
tougher than
They
the
might,
Thunder now.
They might
Well,
thunder
they
us.
took
Yeah.
they
Like we
took
used to.
Taj, which
Yeah,
for the
it hurts.
Big emphasis for the
Would
Thunder
you
last
trade
season.
Carmelo Anthony for Taj Gibson straight up?
So after the last game that we played the Timberwolves in,
He was so
I was
good.
100% saying yes.
It
But
was
would
so
you?
good.
Like, honestly, if that deal was on the
I
table.
don't know about that.
I mean, I think obviously contractually, yeah.
No, don't take that out. As
money,
players.
just
As
players.
players for this team.
I probably would.
He's really good.
And Carmelo is
Old.
not. We didn't get what I thought we were getting.
It's not what we signed up for, Mel.
He seems just not.
He isn't who we thought he was.
I think, and not to say that Taj is a better player than Carmelo. That's not it at all. I just think the fit for the team, they would be a little bit better with Taj.
Yeah, I miss Taj. It was a fun 30-something games or
Yeah.
whatever it was. He's a guy that him and Adams down low is just
Chirag Patel here on YouTube Live said the Wolves might get gassed because their starting 5 play way too much. John Hamm apparently tweeted out earlier today that their starting 5 is at 807 minutes.
That's the Thibodeau method right there. Like
So
he's
probably 4 of them will never
Yeah,
be able to
definitely.
play in the NBA again. In a
and
couple
their
years.
bench isn't very good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think the Thunder, that might be one team the Thunder might have a better bench than is the Timberwolves. And the Spurs,
going for us.
Spurs always have a couple guys that, just rise. Bertans will hit 7 threes on you.
Yeah, right.
Patty Mills will go off for 35.
Danny
or,
Green will get 32 threes.
Right, so they have guys
somehow.
that can do that.
so we're to the point where you feel confident the Thunder are not falling back any further. They actually were flirting with 7 like less than 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago.
it's pretty close.
Pelicans, what, game and a half behind them, though, right?
Yeah, they're close.
Yeah.
I feel confident that they won't fall lower than 5, but they need to keep going. They need to get these wins.
So where do you have them finishing?
But-
You think 5th?
Yeah, I think 5th.
Jason, you think 5th?
Yes.
I really thought about that.
I did. I had to think about it.
But would you say that you'd rather them drop to 6
Did we all have him at like 3 before the season started?
If the Wolves pass the
Yeah.
Spurs, would you rather them drop to 6 so they can just avoid Golden State in the second round, or is that just stop worrying about that? You got to
get to the second round first.
You got to play him anyway. Yeah, and if you're going to, you got to play him anyways.
That's true.
But it would be cool to not
To
play
not.
them
To
until the
not.
Western
Yeah,
Conference.
that would be way nicer.
I mean, if we're gonna lose games, I'd rather it be in a tanking fashion, you know, like because we're trying to, instead of us trying and losing.
Yeah.
I think they're going to catch Minnesota, and they're going to be the 4 seed.
Really,
They are,
Nice.
Minnesota.
I'm
You
for
think they'll catch Minnesota?
yeah. I do.
Who did Minnesota just lose to the other day? Like bad?
I don't know.
That didn't look good.
They lost to
Was it the
Orlando.
Oh, it was Orlando. That's right.
That's what it was. Oh, because the fight. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean,
A
they
follow.
were playing really well before that. They've been playing really
They're
well.
7-3 in their last 10. You look at the Rockets, Spurs, Thunder, and Pelicans. The 2, 3, 5, and 6. They're all 5-5 in their last 10. All of those teams are 5-5
So weird.
in their last 10.
How terrible was that? A follow punch.
Thunder's next 10 games are tough.
He
too.
just Brandon overlooked it.
What am I missing?
That a follow punch?
Oh, so bad.
It was very lame.
Yeah. It was like he didn't want
he
it to
just, like-
connect. Hey, look over here. I'm going to swing this at you.
It's
It's
gonna be there
crazy.
for a bit, so
coming
you
out
got time
so
to
wide.
adjust.
We need to do our sponsors
Yeah.
ad, huh? If you guys watched last week's pod or listened to last week's pod, you know we got a sponsor and it's pretty exciting.
Woo!
So now it's you guys' job to, hey, use this sponsor. Give this
Yeah.
man some business. He deserves it. Today's pod is brought to you by Jesse Edgar, better known as the OK Computer Guy. We want to keep Jesse around. We want to keep him as a
He's a
sponsor.
good dude.
So give him a shout. He's stationed right here in Oklahoma City. Offers computer repair for as low as $40. $40.
It's pretty good.
That's like half of what Geek Squad and these other companies will charge you.
Yeah, teenagers in ties is what they're called.
That's the alternate
That's-
name for Geek
yeah.
Squad. Not Jesse. Jesse's just the OK Computer Guy.
Yes. Yeah, he's got 5-star rating on both Google and Facebook with over 100 reviews, and he does your work in 1 to 3 days.
He gets
So
it
pretty
done.
quick. So he also gives away Thunder tickets and computers on his Facebook page. So make sure you get over there and like that.
Yeah, and who doesn't like free Thunder tickets?
I know I do. It's the only way I ever go to games.
Yes.
Thank you, people who give me Thunder tickets.
So give Jesse a shout at 405-326-4011, or just go to his website if you're an internet user. www.okcomputerguy.
The hill's the internet.
You just interrupted as the internet address. www.okcomputerguy.com or Facebook at facebook.com/okcomputerguy. Give Jesse a shout. He's a great guy, man. You guys will like him. We like him. I think he likes us. He's a listener to the pod. Give him some business, huh?
Yeah.
Twitter questions?
Twitter questions.
Tweet, 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 tweet.
Here we go. Nordier Villefort in Villefort. Which Winter Olympic sport fits each of the Thunder's big 4? That's a great
This is
question.
a fun one.
I like that.
Let's start with Adams.
Bobsled. Nope.
Oh, God.
Or is his
Where's
weight
Bob
gonna
Slater?
carry him down there, you
No
know?
way, it'd slow him down.
No
him
one could fit in it with him.
That's almost
That's
as awkward
true.
as watching him like figure skate. Like I don't
Oh
think he needs to
that
be
would
twirling.
breaks the
That would be
ice.
incredible.
What?
I mean-
Winter Olympics makes it hard.
Yeah, I guess
think-
he can't pull his sister's sports.
I think he could probably be the sweeper on curling. Like he's a big, strong guy. He would be able to
I barely know what that is.
broom. He'd be able to. It's where you have the.
Is that where they
You have the disc.
do
and
that?
Yeah, you could,
They like walk in front of it to slow it.
yeah, to get it to go where they want it to go.
Okay, I don't know.
What are some other?
Gymnastics.
Russ would be
No,
good at
that's not
hockey.
winter though, right? That's not winter. That's Summer Olympics.
I feel like Russ
Gymnastics.
would kill it at hockey.
That's weird.
He would destroy
I feel
people.
like Adams would be a pretty good goallie.
Yeah, he's very large.
Yeah, I'd cover
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire net. What
He's
are you
so
gonna
large.
do?
I don't know what to do with him.
And then Mello, huh?
Figure skater.
Is darts one? I feel like he'd be a
Darts.
good dart player.
What about-
Winter sport.
They've got-
Darts.
Hey, you're indoors. It's cold out, dude.
They've got skiing.
Yeah.
Think Mello could ski? No, nobody.
No.
No,
But I do think Adams could be a snowboarder. He's got that vibe.
still so large, but yeah, he's got the vibe about him. for
Right.
sure.
I mean, all these people are going to be large for
I'm
Olympians.
sticking.
okay.
So I'm sticking with hockey for Russ. What are we doing for Adams?
I think Russ could be a downhill skier though.
Oh, he is fast.
Yeah. Adams, we're gonna go with I don't know.
Curling.
Hockey.
Curling.
Adam's
Let's
gonna
go
be
curling.
What about
He's go-
hockey, man?
He's too big.
Goalie, dude.
He could be the goalie. You kind of have
You
a
know,
point there.
he's got great hands.
Can't
All
have two
right.
hockeys.
All right, we'll go curling then.
Curling it is. Curling it is.
Paul George.
figure skater.
Now he's got a skier's body.
See, that's what I was thinking. Like, especially like whenever they do the jump.
Oh,
like,
where they
whenever
get down
jump,
and they do the thing?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I was thinking the one where you got to go around the whatever they're
Poles?
called. Yeah, the flags or whatever.
Yeah, the poles. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he could really just, like working around the screen, He
Yeah,
could do
he
some
could
of
do that. Oh, that's perfect. And then Mello. Concession
Coach.
stand man.
He's a judge, yeah.
Concession stand guy. All
Nailed it.
No, that was a good question. I like that.
That
one.
was a good
Todd Lytle at ToddBoy23. It's it's known that Thick Ray sticks around after practice with the rookies. Does he mentor T-Ferg on the art of eating?
He ought to.
He definitely needs to start.
Yeah, he ought to.
He needs to be pumping that boy
Man,
full of
yeah,
hamburgers.
Yeah, protein him up. He better be eating so much ham.
So much.
Him.
Yeah, ham.
All right. Jaden Galvin at Jaden Galvin. Thunder trade Alex Abrinas, Kyle Singler, Dakari Johnson, and a second-round pick for Marco Bellinelli and Dwayne Dedmon. We get a score off the bench and a good backup center. Would you do this? And is this realistic?
So Abrinas, Singler, and Dakari Johnson, and a second-round pick for Bellinelli and Dwayne Dedmon.
Yeah.
I do it.
I definitely think the Thunder did this. I'm
Yeah.
trying to figure out what.
With the Hawks, because it's, what do they get? Abrinas and Dakari?
I believe Dedmon has a
pick.
player option next year, and Bellinelli's on the last year of his contract. So maybe they more look at Alex Abrinas as a young guy and Dakari Johnson as a young Dedmon almost.
Yeah.
And say that
Works, though.
yeah, we get the youngest guy, probably the best asset in this deal.
Yeah.
Unless you consider Dwayne Dedmon that. I don't know how old he is. He's somewhere between
He looks
25
very old.
and 45.
He
He's got
looks-
that Greg Oden syndrome.
Yeah.
Now I gotta know.
I think that's a pretty realistic though. He asked if it's realistic. I think
I
it's
kind
a-
of like that deal, actually.
I do too.
Like,
I think that covers up kind of
two
the Thunder's
things.
issues. I mean, Bellinelli's not going to make plays for you, but he's a reliable shooter.
28 years old.
Okay.
He definitely looks 40, like you
Yeah.
said.
And I
For
believe he's
sure.
making $6 million this year, and I want to say it's a player option next year. I might be wrong though.
All right, temporary Vikings fan at Thunder Time E.
We had a couple of people ask
Yeah,
us.
several. Sheldon West and at Swesty, and Hunter Harjo at Hunter Harjo 7. They all asked, who do you guys think is the biggest trade target for the Thunder?
I don't know who, but I think it'd be better to say what.
What? Yeah.
And to me, it's going to be some sort of playmaker off the bench, but that's so easier said than done. And, I don't know. You can say Tyreek, but
Is that
do
really
the
gonna
do the
happen?
Thunder have pieces necessary to get a legit playmaker to come off your bench? I don't know that they do.
I wonder how that would affect Felton. Like, I wonder, like, Tyreek, I wonder how much that would, I wonder if that would mix well or not.
You got to take the risk.
Oh, if it's Tyreek, you definitely,
Yeah.
you definitely take the risk. But
Well, that's a good
I
question
still,
because Felton tends to have the ball in his hand and Tyreek needs it.
But maybe Felton just has the ball in his hands so much out of
Does he have to?
necessity. Yeah.
Right.
it looks good though.
Yeah.
I
He
mean,
pounds
he-
it. He pounds it.
He pounds the ball. So I still
He does
think that
pound it.
center is the need. Like, I still think that that's where they need to go. I get that. I understand why you want a playmaker to come off the bench. Like, the bench is scary, like terrible sometimes, sometimes really good when Raymond Felton is on. But I still think, and we've talked about this before too, is getting a center. If Patrick Patterson is not involved in that deal, or if it's just somebody that's been cut, like if that's how you get him, and you still have Patrick Patterson, we talked about this. Like that value for Patterson then goes up because his role is different.
I think that's a good point because, as we said earlier, when playoffs do come, rotations shorten. You're likely only playing 8 or 9 guys on this team,
Yeah.
9 max. So you are going to play one of Melo, Paul George, or Russ with the bench. So maybe you don't need that playmaker off the bench in the end. So your point's valid. Maybe center, and that's such a Thunder thing to do when you're like, how many trade deadlines have there been where you're like, oh, can't wait to see what the Thunder are going to do, and then they sign Nazem Muhammad. You're like, what?
Huh?
That's what we did?
Is that the thing? All right. Christopher Banks at Panthers fan 2134. Do you expect OKC to at least take calls for PG-13?
It's a good question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're gonna take them?
I think they'll listen. You never know
I
when.
don't think they're just gonna hang up on some people.
Yeah, what if Washington calls and they're like, we're
Oh,
tired.
Bealsy.
Yeah, and they want to offer 4 years of Bradley Beal.
Take it.
That's
I
hard
think-
for the Thunder to turn down.
I think the better question is Sam Presti calling to see what he can get for Paul George. Which
You just one up this guy's question.
yeah, that's what I do.
He's a one-upper.
That's what I do.
Do you think that?
I don't know. That's tough. That's a really good question that I asked, and so I don't know if it is. I don't know that to me, he's just the perfect guy to cover all of, like, to make sure he knows exactly the market value and what he can get for somebody. And so I would assume he's at least asking, but I think the pool is so small. Like, the teams that are actually willing to take a chance on Paul George this year is like maybe two teams. And so I don't think that it's really possible for him to
Yeah. Plus,
shop him
if
out like
he's
that.
making calls, it comes across as desperate. You know?
Yeah. It does a little bit.
Cole Steffens on YouTube. He asked, "How do I get one of those Thunderheads cups?"
Limited edition, bro.
It is.
One of these ones?
They were a three creation process, but we might
We
look
had-
into that at some
We
point.
had 4. We gave.
Oh yeah,
You did give the
I
one.
did give one away. You're
Yeah, you
right.
did,
I forgot
so-
about that.
Yeah, maybe we can look into that.
Yeah,
We'll let you
might
know.
be
Be on the
cool.
lookout.
He also asked.
You can get our shirts on OKCThunderheads.com/store though. By the
That's
way.
true.
Comfy shirts.
Only $10. He also asked, "Is the ideal matchup on the playoffs a 4-5 with the Spurs and then Warriors in the second?" We kind of talked about that already, though, because we were kind of saying T-Wolves in the first round and then hopefully the Warriors not till the.
But it's
later on.
like almost like pick your poison now though with Rockets or the Warriors. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously you're gonna fear the Warriors more, but
Much.
Rockets, they're scary too, man.
especially for us. Yusuf Sabik at Yusuf Sabik. I think an underscore in there. Billy Donovan is flat out experimenting the last few games with our bench. One time it's Peachy with them, and one time it's Mello with them, and then other times it's on their own. Which lineup do you like the most?
We talked a little bit about this, and I think,
If I had to pick one, I put Russ with the bench and with Felton.
yeah, that's what.
So he chose D, none of the above, Russell Westbrook.
But what I want to do, is Melo with him. That's what I want. It has the best numbers.
It seems to work better.
Yeah, and it gets Melo shots that he wants. But I think I've come to the conclusion that Billy Donovan's reasoning for not playing Melo with the bench is because he's trying to break those habits of forcing shots. He wants him to become that catch and shoot player, and he's not going to be that with the bench.
Yeah, but knowing that he is who he is, like, why not just embrace it? Wouldn't that be the better way to go about it?
I guess because you don't want him breaking out of it. You want him to have that tunnel vision. This is what I do for this team. I guess. I understand what you're saying, but it seems like if that was it, he would be playing with the bench by now because it makes sense.
All right, Carter Bradford at C to the Bradford. You think the reason Patterson doesn't play with the starters at all is because Donovan wants Melo to continue to play with Russ and build that catch and shoot identity? Maybe he feels Patterson would take Melo's minutes.
I don't think he fears Patterson would take his minutes, but I do think there's something to Melo continuing to play with Russ and build that. It's kind of goes back to what I was just talking about. But yeah, it would be nice to see what Patterson could do.
I'd like to see it.
Does Melo need some rest or something?
I mean, I don't think that Patterson has earned that. Like, he hasn't played well enough, and maybe that's
a good point.
reason to put him with the starters.
But
although
like you
it's
said,
not going to happen.
He rarely gets an opportunity to play power forward, you know?
Yeah.
So it would be nice to just see how that fit would work.
And Panther Fan 13 on YouTube says he hopes that we pursue Will at the deadline, but I don't think we're going to be able to get that fella.
Well, they're talking about an extension for him.
And-
I don't
Yeah,
think
and
he's going
it's
anywhere.
feeling less and less likely that he gets dealt because number one, number two, he's having a hell of a year. I mean, the
He's
guy's
only
probably
person on the Clippers that can play basketball at the moment.
The Clippers-
probably going to be an all-star.
when
The
Blake's
Clippers have
healthy.
won 6 in a row.
Yeah,
They
after
have
we
the
beat him,
longest-
right?
They have the longest win streak in the West right now.
Yeah, they're doing well for now.
That ain't gonna last.
Probably not.
Nibs the Lost Boy at Nibs the Lost Boy. I would take like one Marco Bellinelli or one Tyreek Evans, and I have a Abrinas Grant Celtics second round to offer. What gets either done?
I think you hope that gets the Tyreek deal done.
Yeah.
And if not, you don't give that up for Bellinelli.
Seems like a lot for Bellinelli.
Yeah.
Just Bellinelli by himself. I don't know about that.
But I'd be okay with
With that for
making that
Tyreek?
deal for Tyreek. You know, Tyreek would come here and shoot 20% from three.
Yeah, and immediately break his ankle.
Yeah.
Just be done. I'm like, God damn it.
But the thing about it is that you would have somebody else that can get the offense going for that bench unit. That's the best part of it.
Right. All right.
What if you get Tyreek and you make Raymond Felton a part of the deal? Tyreek's essentially a point guard.
There you go. Now you're thinking.
But then you're
Then if he breaks that ankle,
yeah, right.
I don't think anybody's out there clamoring for Raymond Felton.
Yeah,
in that
especially
deal.
Memphis.
You seen him play lately?
No, I agree.
I think
Shit
another
fire.
team that needs him might, like a contender that might need a good point guard, but
All right, last one. Zach Weber 33 at Z Avalanche 33.
He's got 33 in his
He
name.
sure does. Who is the best offensive rebounder in the league right now? Drummond or Adams?
Adams.
Who would you rather have on your team in the playoffs?
Adams again.
Adams and Adams.
yeah, I'd take Adams over Drummond. I would.
Yeah, I don't. Give me Adams.
Because Adams knows his role and he plays it. Drummond, I think, kind of sometimes wants to be someone he's not. Boom.
Well,
That's deep, son.
Also, I think like attitude goes into this
Yes.
and is a big thing, and
And
kinda what
toughness.
Brandon was saying.
Just all around.
It's really strong.
We had another one roll in late,
Oh.
and I want to get to him because it's coming from New Zealand. Scott Baumforth, at Mr. Baumforth. He asks, as a Kiwi, we love Steven Adams. Just how much do they love him over there in OKC?
So much.
Yeah,
There's a
man.
mural on one of our buildings downtown.
It's really
of
cool.
his giant head.
It's in the film district in Oklahoma City, and there's a huge mural covering an entire wall facing the west. So the sunset just nails it.
That's
it's
perfect.
Man, it's really cool. They love him. I would say he's probably the second favorite player here, right?
Yeah.
It
It
goes Russ,
seems to be the
and-
consensus.
and then Adams.
And it's like just everything about like
Just
he's-
everybody loves everything about it.
he's so
like,
cool.
He's so cool.
He's just so cool.
He is,
the
man.
best.
Hey, if I could pick one Thunder player to spend a night out with, it'd be Adams. I want to hang out with him, And
He
go-
does seem like it'd be
I'd
cool.
buy him dinner.
You wanna,
This is getting a
sounds
little
like you want to
weird.
go on a date with Adams. Is what
Yeah,
it sounds
this
like.
changed.
I'm just saying I'm open to it. I'm
mandate,
not
I
saying
guess.
like
I mean, I'm not
I'm
not discriminating against your choices if
feel
that
like-
is your choice.
I feel like we should warn Steven
Okay.
Adams at this point.
But
You're
yeah,
getting-
I feel like you should give him a heads
like
up.
you
That's
guys
what it's
are
going to turn
acting
into.
like I'm gonna make actions that are inappropriate. I'm just saying it might be a good time.
It's just
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Twitter at OKC Thunderheads. If you tuned in on YouTube Live, we appreciate it so much. If not,
Thanks.
yeah, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. If you didn't, you can watch all of our pods right there. Subscribe on iTunes. If video is not your thing, you can find us on Spotify,
There you got
SoundCloud, Google Play, Stitcher, Overcast, or our very own OKCThunderheads.com. Thunder go to Cleveland on a Saturday afternoon matinee. It's going to be fun. We're going to be right back with a podcast immediately following the game, so we will catch you guys then. Till then, and as always,
as always.
Thunder up.